Welcome everyone to 13 Moons Manifestation Initiation, our preview for the upcoming cycles, Shifting Gears, Attachment and Freedom. I am Monique Ruffin
And I'm Christine Galvarjani.
And I'm Charlotte Bourget.
And we are the facilitators for the 13 Moons Initiation Community. And let's get started and see what we have in store for this upcoming month. So exciting.
All right, so this call tonight is called Shifting Gears, Attachment and Freedom. We're going to be talking about attachment and its relationship to freedom and your ability to be able to shift gears. So we're going to talk about, what are those things? 3 ways that your attachment drives your freedom. We're going to talk about the upcoming Cancer Aquarius moon cycle. During the year, there are 13 moon cycles, and most of the moon cycles have a relationship between the new moon and the full moon that is in opposition, and there's always one during the year that's different, and that's what we're looking at this month. So this is kind of a special moon cycle, and we'll talk about in what ways that is special and it's different. The moon phases and powers, and how you can go deeper in this experience.
Let's do it.
So what is secure attachment, and what is the relationship to freedom and being able to shift gears? So talking about attachment, we decided to start really at the beginning. When people talk about secure attachment on a developmental level, we're talking about the relationship between an infant and a caretaker, where the attachment bond is created. When a child is born, their nervous system is not fully developed. There are things that an infant is designed to do in co-regulation with the humans that are caring for it. And infants have several needs that, if they're met in a reasonable manner, that is where you develop your sense of self, like how safe you feel in your body, how much you feel like it's just okay to be alive and on the planet, how well you're able to regulate your emotions, your thoughts, your physical body. These things are all affected by our early years and how we are taken care of, essentially. And here's the thing. Raise your hand if you may not have gotten all of your needs met perfectly as a small child. I know I didn't. And the thing about that is, on various levels, most people have some dysregulation in terms of, how attachment was formed. Parenting practices in our culture alone don't always foster secure attachment. Just normal things like letting an infant cry and, training them to sleep on their own. That's an event that, an infant that cries and with nobody responding learns to give up, learns to have a whole lot of stress hormones pouring through their body. Infants are meant to regulate in connection with a human. And so just things like that, you may have done them, they're considered really normal. Those types of things affect it. And the good news about all of this is that it can be changed. Our brains are elastic. These neural pathways can be changed. And so one of the things that we're really focusing on this month is just a little bit of that, where are the places where you need a little bit more work in healing some of these things that happened in your early developmental years? Where can you reparent yourself in ways? Because this can be done. And the thing is, how this is related to freedom is that if you have a healthy sense of self, you know, you had your needs met, you feel securely attached, you feel like you can regulate yourself, you are free. You know, when we have all of these other things that come about when we aren't securely attached, so, you know, let's say if your needs aren't consistently met, you learn that your needs won't be met. And so you can feel anxious, or you can just not have a sense of trust, you know, in what life throws at you. That interferes with your ability to be free, because you know, you can be affected. You might hold on to relationships because they make you feel safe, because you don't feel like you have that internally. And so I would argue that there is no true freedom without that kind of sense of regulation within yourself. It starts internally, let's say it that way. And the ability to be able to shift gears when you need to be resilient, to think of it like the anchor of a ship. You know, if you have a boat and you have an anchor, you know, and you drop anchor in a harbor, if a storm comes through, yeah, it's going to bounce around a little bit, but it's not going to float away. You know, you're still going to be okay. Someone without secure attachment is like a boat without an anchor. You know, the storms come and you just get tossed all over the place and thrown into the rocks, and it's harder for you to bounce back when life is difficult or when things come out of nowhere. Do you guys have anything to add? I was kind of talking all around this issue.
I think you covered it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Beautifully.
Okay. So yeah, what we're looking at is the relationship between these things, and honestly, it's a complicated relationship. You know, that ability to be detached and step away from things, and the ability to be completely immersed in them, and nurturing of yourself, but being able to be like sort of be in the world but not of the world. That's a thing that it's interesting to navigate. And so that's the theme we're focusing on in this upcoming cycle, because more and more we are being asked to step into that place. And so some of what people might be working on this month in the group that we facilitate is, you know, any of those places where there's still hooks for you, there's still needs that need to be met, you know, and holding those places and healing those places so that you really can be free. So you are free to create your life the way that you want it. All right, so we're going to talk about the three kind of the three different areas that you can focus on with this.
So one of the areas, because all three I think are equally important, but is to really be able to be at home in your body. And I know for myself, like Christine was saying, I was neglected in this way. So what was modeled for me was to not make my physical needs a priority. So for me to come back into my center means that I get to regulate for myself, that I get enough sleep, that I'm eating 3 nourishing meals a day, that I'm doing my meditation, and that I'm staying completely connected into my own center. Because when we move and we get physically out of balance, our energies, when they're in that boat that doesn't have an anchor, we start to physically follow around the energies that are around us, looking for that safety and security, and physically seeking permission to take care of ourselves. So the benefits of bringing our awareness to our physical needs, the rest and getting the right exercise and making sure that you don't have holes in your socks and that you're eating good food and you're bathing properly, all of your basic self-care needs, is that you are able to self-regulate, that you do get yourself out of a sympathetic system into your parasympathetic system, so that your nervous system can start to come online in a very healthy way, that you get out of fight and flight and into rest and renew, that you're able to bounce back as life ebbs and flows through these changes and these extremes, and that you are able to build up your energy, that you are self-contained, and that you are able to give yourself the permission that you need in order to be safe and secure in the world. during these extreme contrasting experiences, which we're living in right now, actually. Yeah.
One of the things that comes to mind for me hearing you talk about this, Cheryl, is that, you know, one of the quickest ways that you can bring yourself back into balance physically, this affects the vagus nerve, like the main nerve, and is breathing out slowly. It's like and it's something like you can do it right now while you're listening to this call.
Yeah. Breathe
You know?
in for two. Just breathe in for two and extend the breath. Make the breath longer than the inhale. And that right there is such a beautiful physical self-care technique, Christine. That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, like you can like, and that's how simple it can be. Like you can start with the small things and build from that.
That's a huge thing, actually.
Yeah.
The benefit is huge. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Mental resilience. Well, one of the things that has been the biggest part of my life experience is my mind and how stories have just created the most profound, painful experiences that seem so real because of the stories that I'm telling myself. And there's something about recognizing that I have discovered is there's one thing to have the experience where I'm actually in an experience that might feel like that might be neglect actually, or that might be, you know, some form of abandonment, because like most people, I grew up in experiences where my needs were not met. And as a child, I did not know how to self-soothe. I didn't learn how to practice behaviors that would soothe me myself. And so as I developed and became a teenager, I would create stories around these feelings that, you know, there's our nervous system actually generates various hormones when our needs are not being met. And so when those feelings would come up in my body, I would create a story about it. And the story would be connected to something going on. Like maybe I would think like, oh, I need a boyfriend to make me feel better. You know, I need food to do this. And the stories would run me to the point that they would become depression, to the point that I would become oftentimes full of despair and even sometimes suicidal. But what I have learned is that it's all in my head. It was all in my head, because the actual experience from 0 to 7, where the neglect was actually occurring, imprinted in my brain patterns and in my nervous system. And then those imprints played out until I began to recognize, which I was very much an adult by the time that started to happen, where I started to realize, oh, I'm playing a story of being neglected. I'm playing a story of someone saying something that hurt my feelings, or me doing something where I was considering myself wrong, and those stories would repattern the trauma in my brain and in my body. And so I had to teach myself who's speaking. Like I had to begin to listen to the voices in my head and discover, well, actually, who's speaking right now? You know, who's the person who's the energy within me that's saying, life is so horrible and I'm never going to be able to make it. And, you know, this person has done this to me and I'm behind. Who's saying that? And once I was able to identify those various mental voices in my mind, that assisted me in being able to give myself what I needed. And oftentimes the need was something really just me paying attention to myself. It's like patterning for myself what I needed my mother to do or my father to do, which was just listen and ask, what do you need? Is there anything that's needed? There's something so beautiful about the relationship that we're having with ourselves. and the stories we're telling ourselves and the way we speak to ourselves. And once we're able to master this at some level, when I realize this now, no one can give me, there's nothing that I feel like I need outside of me that I think is going to save my life in the way that I did when I was in these stories. So I used to believe that I needed to have a partner in order to feel safe and secure in the world. And that was a physical experience in my body that would create depression or despair if I felt like a relationship was ending. I would hang on to it. I would become manipulative and cunning and just, like running interference in the experiences, just really trying to save myself. That's really all I was doing. But I would do it in the name of, I love you so much. Please don't leave me. Let's try and work this out. Or if it was, maybe it was about food or something, much simpler. Like I remember when I would always put more food on my plate than I needed because I grew up in a household where food was scarce. So the story I had in my mind was, I always had a story that I don't have enough, that there's scarcity, that there's lack. So this desperation would play out either with people or circumstances or experiences. But once I started to recognize who's speaking, then I was able to meet those needs in ways that didn't continue to re-traumatize myself. And so today, less and less, I am hooked into patterns and behaviors that actually are not supporting me towards well-being or self-care and self-love and trusting myself and trusting my ability to make choices and trusting my capacity to speak my truth, because I have been able to do the work to understand where my needs are coming from and then how to actually meet them on my own without believing that I need someone else to be different in order for me to feel satisfied or supported or seen.
Yeah.
What do you ladies say about that?
Oh, for sure. Like that, learning that kind of stepping back and discernment just to listen to like, who's talking right now? Whose voice is this? And I know for me, like when I really learned how to do that, it was like, sometimes it was voices of people in my life, just what I'd been told my whole life. And it wasn't really true or me but yeah, like, being able to really see your own stories for what they are, stories, like they're just an interpretation of what is happening, is huge. It's really huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was life changing when I realized I had been taught or told a whole bunch of lies, and they weren't mine.
Mm-hmm.
They were just things that people convinced me I was supposed to think, feel, and believe, right, to be true. And then I just realized, oh my gosh, everybody's been lying to me. None of these things are true about who I am at my core.
Yeah.
Who I am at my core is this unlimited, vibrant, excited being, celebrating growth and expansion and choosing experiences because I can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so from the emotional perspective or the emotional lens, one of the things that has been huge for me in my life is really learning how to become emotionally authentic. And what I mean by emotional authenticity is we all have emotions. They move through our body in response to various stimuli. And at a very simple level, can you actually feel what you're feeling? Can you simply just register the sensation that is happening in your body? And it sounds really silly sometimes to say, like, can you feel what you're feeling? But for me, for a lot of my life, I didn't. I stuffed emotions, like I pushed them down. I pushed them out of the way. I didn't want to feel them. And I had, in some of the childhood experiences I had, like having a violent father who was also like, would get extremely angry and full of rage, I learned that certain emotions weren't okay. You know, like you learn that, oh, this emotion is okay, this one isn't. This one means something bad might happen. And for like a lot of my work emotionally was around anger. I had huge triggers around anger. Like when people got angry, I wanted to stop that at all costs. When I got angry, I wanted to stop that at all costs, because I had learned through my experiences that when people get angry, someone might get hurt.
Mm.
And in fact, something I discovered, and I think I was maybe 30 some years old when like this first occurred to me. A lot of times what people do to try to avoid emotions is just resist feeling them, just resist allowing the emotion to move through you. For me, what I thought was anger was actually the sensation of trying not to be angry. That was like, when that occurred to me, it was like, oh, I don't even know what anger feels like because I haven't allowed myself to feel it. What I thought was anger was the sensation of trying not to be angry. And what I learned, like what really opened up for me in that moment, was the emotions themselves are nothing compared to what it feels like to resist an emotion. That's hard. Resisting an emotion is difficult. Actually, just feeling an emotion, they always pass. I have never met one that was not fleeting.
They come to pass.
Yeah, they do. They're like emotion. They are moving. Just let them move.
Energy and motion.
And yeah, and so so the work around emotions is huge, you know, like being able to register them, to allow them to move through you, being able to communicate them at an appropriate intensity for the situation, and being able to communicate them and be vulnerable and not care what anyone else thinks about your emotional truth. Those are things that people struggle with deeply in our culture. And when you work on these things, the way that you can shift through it is huge. It's like you learn to be a person who your insides match your outsides. You know, how you feel is what you reflect. There's no disconnect in any way. And everybody's work is individual, because you know what you learned about emotions and when it's okay, you know, like think of all the ways in which we shut down emotions just in kids, you know, stop crying, be quiet, you know, like we have so many ways we shut it down. And so sometimes just learning to let that move again is work. And it is the work. And when you're able to do this, like you can have balanced relationships. You know, you can express what you feel and not make it somebody else's problem or fault, or you can just simply feel what you feel. And you can see your emotions as a tool, as more of a, like they're information most of the time, you know, is what your emotions are. So that's kind of the emotional lens of how to look at this. And all of these things together, when you meet your needs in all of these ways, this is how you free yourself. This is how you develop the ability to be able to roll with things when they happen, to be able to shift gears when a problem comes up. And you're free in the sense that when you really know yourself at your own core, nobody can pull you into their agendas in any way. Like you truly are free to express as who you are, like physically, mentally, emotionally.
To know your purpose.
Yeah.
Beyond what everybody's assigning to you.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
So the Cancer Aquarius moon cycle. So this is a very unique and special cycle because once a year we have a double new moon. And this month we're having, last month we had a new moon in Cancer, and this month we're having a new moon in Cancer. So we have this opportunity to come back to ourselves, our early childhood formative mental, emotional, and physical patterning for the purpose of accessing freedom, which is the theme for Aquarius. And so the energies that we'll be focusing on for Cancer are security, nurturance, and emotional bonds. And then for Aquarius, freedom, community, visionary. How do I heal my imbalances at the core emotional level so that I'm truly able to adjust, belong, and be free? That's exciting, yeah?
Yeah, definitely.
For
And so
sure.
what we offer is that each person gets to choose what, you, as you're going through the work, you choose the energies that you want to focus on for yourself, because everyone is different. Everyone has different childhood experiences and different needs now. And so how you'll follow the cycles and you'll see what it is that you need to focus on, the themes for yourself.
Absolutely.
So there's a process that we go through, the 8 phases of the moon. The phases themselves are going to support you in from the beginning, the middle, and the end of the transformation that's going to take place. So you'll, at the very beginning, intuit for yourself, connect into your higher self, look at your life with a lens that really helps you to discern what those 2 goals are going to be. What is it that your higher self is wanting to come through a transformation, alchemize within your life? And then as we get that made clear to us, then we have a phase where we're able to plant those new ideas, those desires into our consciousness. And then that we have a phase where we're able to clear out all of the old conditioning that cannot hold this new place that you're going. And then we move ourselves into a space where gathering to us into the spaces that were cleared to the new consciousness that's necessary for you to be able to experience, put together the infrastructure for the energies in the life that you want. And then as we're doing this, we're helping you to really learn how to become empowered with your feminine energy and empowered with your masculine energy, because the phases of the moon are naturally going through this process. And then we come into the place where we help you to birth yourself into this new space. And so these are very practical steps that you take. The moon is literally guiding us through phases that happen every 3.5 to 4 days. And you learn a tool of transformation that is so natural and so part of your own cycle. And it's a beautiful opportunity to really teach yourself who you are as a powerful manifester, your capacity to know yourself in transformation and to impact not only your own life, but to create yourself into a new world in 8 phases, 28 days.
Yes, and it works.
And it works. I'm here to tell you.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really powerful. And like because what you're doing is you're harnessing the energy of certain phases are good for certain things. Like it's like you're just doing things at the right time is what it is. It's like that, when you work, like, when you go downstream and instead of trying to swim upstream, like you do things when the time is right for them, there is more ease around it, or you're taking the actions at the time, or you're doing the internal work at the time when the energy is really supporting you in that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you can't stay distracted, because that was one of the gifts of me doing this work, was I would get distracted from where I was headed, and before I knew it, months would go by. But the moon and then the group consciousness helps you to stay very connected to your choices and what you need to be focusing on, so that you don't get caught up in the ebbs and the flows and too far out and too far in this direction or that direction. It's very helpful.
Sure.
Ooh, special power.
Yeah, as we mentioned before, this this particular moon is different than the rest of our moon cycles. Like we're dealing with um, two things that are really different from each other, two energies that are really different from each other. So you have a really, really powerful, like if you come into the moon work during this phase,
Mm-hmm.
you're signing up for something really powerful. You know, like if you're drawn to doing it during this phase, then you're looking for some powerful transformation. Because normally we are dealing with opposites in the moon phases. You know, the full moon and the new moon are in opposite signs. They're not this time around. And so we're integrating two very different things.
Mm-hmm.
And there's real power in that, like looking at something from a different perspective, or even think about like, what would our world be like if more people were able to try to understand things that they don't at all understand?
Mm-hmm.
You know, or try to integrate two things that are very different from each other. Like that's what you get to hone this month. Like that's what the energy is really supporting, and that's
Absolutely.
huge.
Yeah, I find it to be really exciting because it's an opportunity to really access compassion because of these energies. They're not opposite, that they are, well, they're opposite in that they are not in alignment, right? It's that freedom and then that deep sort of connection to self, and to understand that the more we are with ourselves, the freer we are. It's the thing I love about Aquarius is that, and I struggle with it so much, but that detachment aspect, that capacity, that ability to be able to step back from something and look at it and see it for what it really is without emotion, and then make a choice. That is that's everything. There's really nothing as valuable as that.
Yeah. And we can't do that if we don't have any capability around our own emotions. If our emotions are just wild and out of control, or completely gone and not accessible, we can't do that. And so it's like, that's how these two things are going to play together. You know, we need to do the inner emotional work so that we can be free to detach when we need to.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So we take initiates through the lunar year, the theme through the lunar themes all year long. This one starts July 12th. And if you'd like to join, you would choose 2 objectives to manifest, and Christine, Cheryl, and I will coach you through the entire moon cycle. We offer a private group. We offer one-on-one coaching. That's a separate aspect, but if you want it, it is available. We offer rituals, guidance on a regular basis, and we offer a community of 50 other people at least who are there doing this work so that we can support one another and really get the benefit of how we move this energy as a community. And when one of us is doing the work together, we're all doing it. And so this theme is significant in that it's this unique Aquarius, Cancer Aquarius energy. And so to join this month is a really significant energy because we've been working with eclipses, we've been working with retrogrades. And so if you're ready to change your life, and I mean change your life, this is the month to join and to join us and allow us to support you through the shifts that are happening internally and collectively.
Yeah, I want to say that your life is changing anyway. So this is your opportunity to consciously and deliberately harness the intensity of this energy in a constructive and clear way in your life, because it's happening, right? You could either be being whipped around by this energy right now, or you can consciously participate in this evolution, in this intensity right now. That's a huge shift, to deliberately decide to do something like this versus just change is going to happen, whatever.
Right. It's the thing I was saying today in my moon video. I was saying how important it is for us to, we need to be able to tell the universe what it is we desire. And rather than waiting. So as all this change is happening, I hear a lot of conversations where people are wondering what's going to happen. And I keep saying, no, you're creating what's going to happen. There is no wondering. The wondering is a space of being stuck. Like, you are the creator, so you don't have to wonder, just create it. And the moon cycle, this work helps us create the realities that we desire.
Yeah. Beautiful.
So we will, like I said in the previous slide, we have a private Facebook group. There's daily guidance from Christine, Cheryl, and myself. There are people in the room who are supporting. Cheryl is doing the elemental rituals. We have the access, like I said, to the three of us. The Moon Manifestation Library, we have countless videos to support you in really understanding the language, because this is also a language. We have accountability exercises, monthly astrology call, and 2 meditation calls and emails that help you focus so that you can have all your needs met and have the success that you desire to do this and need. So if you join this month, the special, the first month will cost $47. And every month thereafter is $97. So this is a great month to join and learn and see how this works for you, how you can align yourself with these energies. And if you'd like to join, you can use the code 13 Moons Cancer Extra. And you can register here at this bit.ly link, bit.ly 13 Moons. Is there anything else you'd like to say, ladies, before we sign off?
No, just feel free to message either one of us if you have any questions about the group. We'd love to have you join us this month. I think this is going to be a really powerful cycle, and we would love to see you in the moon room.
Yep. Thank you for listening, and hope to see you inside.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Peace and blessings.